Good morning. Welcome to the kitchen. Today we're going to make ginger biscuits. Biscuits is another word for cookie. In the United Kingdom they call cookies biscuits. So these are ginger biscuits, a traditional cookie in England. They love ginger. And we're going to use two types of ginger in our recipe. We're going to use powdered ginger and crystallized ginger. And so here we have some crystallized ginger. I normally get this at Trader Joe's. Key Food didn't have it. Trader Joe's was completely out. The entire shelf was empty. And I actually ordered this on Amazon, and it was a really large container, so I have it at home, and I don't want to bring the whole container in, but so this is what it looks like. And I'm going to chop it very finely, and that will add the flavor and sweetness. And then, of course, our sugar, flour, salt, butter, vanilla, and eggs. So I'm going to start preparing everything. I'm going to cut these really fine because we're going to have these in a cookie, so we want them very fine and small. And then I'm going to weigh out all of my ingredients, get my mise en place ready, and then we can start making the recipe. Our recipe calls for 4 yolks. So whenever you're working with eggs, because there is the potential of having salmonella on the egg shells if they are dirty, and then potentially giving somebody food poisoning from it, you always want to work cleanly. So I have the eggs in a separate container. This is now dirty, okay? We're not going to put any food in this container. It's simply there to hold the eggs and the shells. I have 2 containers here now. The small one will be for the yolks. The large one will be for the whites. I'm going to keep the yolks separate for our recipe, but I can save the whites and use them for something else, like meringue cookies. All right, so we want to separate the eggs, separate the yolk and the egg white, crack it, and you want to try to, don't smash it, you want to try to keep the eggs split evenly in 2 so you can separate it. All right, and we're just letting the egg white hang down and then gently passing it back and forth between the 2 shells, which will let the egg white separate from the yolk. You don't want to break the yolk. Okay, try to keep the yolk whole and keep the egg white completely clean as well. You don't want any yolk in your egg white, especially if you're going to use it to make meringues. The fat in the whites will prevent it from whipping up. So we want to make sure you keep all the yolk out of it. Now that one didn't open up so nicely, but there, we can still use it. Here's our ginger finely chopped, and what I'm going to do is, because it really is very, very sticky, it sticks to itself, is that I'm going to mix it in with the sugar first, because that will help to separate it into all these tiny little pieces that I cut. And I don't want to, you don't want a cookie that has a huge chunk of ginger in it. You want a cookie that has nice fine pieces. So before I start mixing this all together, I'm just going to smoosh it between my fingers and get all these little pieces separated. And it ended up being 6 tablespoons, or 3 ounces. Actually, it wasn't completely 3, it was 2.25 ounces, ended up being 6 tablespoons. So I think that's probably enough. So as you can see, I want to do that before we start making the cookie. Oh, here's our butter, and it's nice and soft. It's been sitting out, so you can see it's squeezable. This is how you want the butter to be, room temperature. We're going to get that all into our mixer and put down the, press it, release that. And we're just going to put that on low speed and have that mix to get it to nice and soft. If I need to, I will use my spatula and scrape down the sides of the bowl and get the butter stuck off of the paddle as well. So our butter is nice and soft, and I have smooshed together our ginger and sugar. So I'm going to add this in and mix it. I'm going to turn this on low, and I'm going to let it mix for a while because I want some of that ginger broken up still as well. So here's our butter, sugar, and ginger. You see it's nice and fluffy. All the ginger is separated, the sugar has been blended in, and now we're gonna add in our yolks. And we're gonna do this one at a time. And I'm just gonna eyeball it plopping them in one at a time approximately. And you want to let it mix until it's completely mixed in. Scrape down the sides with the spatula after each time you add it in as well, and that will help incorporate the eggs perfectly into your batter. All right, so that was our first yolk, and I'm going to add in our next one. You can see the first one's been completely incorporated, and then I'll do the same with the rest of the egg yolks, scraping down the sides of the bowl with the spatula after each one. Now I'm going to add in our vanilla. It's all been completely incorporated, so I'm going to add in, let me double check the recipe, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And over here though, before I do that, I've got our flour. I'm gonna add the salt. And you see the ginger's all chunky there. I'm gonna break that up first, and then I'll stir all of this together and then add it into our mixture. But now I need 2 hands to measure the teaspoons of vanilla, and I will add that to the mixture. All right, so all of our vanilla is mixed in, and our butter looks great. I've got all of the ginger and salt mixed into the flour, so we're gonna just get that all in. Okay, we've got all the flour in there. We're gonna put this back, the paddle back into the bowl, and I'm just gonna turn this on. And this is a different machine than the KitchenAid. This is the Cuisinart stand mixer, and it is slow enough that I can just turn it on speed number 1, and I don't have to worry about it splattering everywhere. The KitchenAid, though, is stronger, and I always like to pulse it first. So if you have a KitchenAid, you just want to pulse it on and off, so that way the flour doesn't go everywhere. And you can see the dough is coming together rather quickly, and I don't want to overmix it. You don't want to develop the gluten and have a tough cookie dough. So see how it's beginning to have trouble mixing? We're going to stop here because it's completely mixed in, and then we're going to take out our dough, divide it, chill it, and then I'm going to roll it into logs like we did with the cheddar pennies, so I can slice them and bake them. I think that's easy. If you don't want circles, you could roll it out, cut it into squares like we did with the hazelnut shortbread, or cut diamonds, or roll it out and use cookie cutters and cut shapes from it that way too. Here's our finished dough, and if we were working in a professional bakery, we would want to make sure that our cookies are consistent. So it's a good idea to take measurements. So I weighed the dough, all of it, which equals 57.53 ounces. And then I want to make 4 logs. So I'm going to divide it by 4, and that turned out to be 14 1/3 ounces each log. So this is 14 1/3 ounces. I'm going to shape the log and chill it, and then I can slice it and bake it. So what I'm going to do is roll this in the parchment paper, and then I will get the length of the log, and then that way I will make each of the 4 logs the same exact length, and then that will be the same thickness. Each of them will be the same diameter. All right, so we're using a bit of our math here to get everything equal. All right, so here's our log and my ruler, and what we've ended up getting is 13.5 inches long, okay, approximately, okay. And then what I'll do is I will wrap this up. You can see use the paper to help roll it, but also now I can wrap this up and put it right into the freezer, let it set up before the refrigerator so it's firm, so that way I can slice it and get nice shaped cookies. I'm going to put that whole thing into the refrigerator, actually the freezer. I want to set it up quickly so I can get some baked. So here is our log, and I'm going to use this parchment to put on our baking sheet. And I want you to show you, this is the second log. I did 4, and you can see that they are pretty much almost exactly the same. And that's how you create uniformity in a bakery or any food enterprise you want to do. Everything needs to be uniform. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slice very thin, I guess 1/4 inch thick slices, and then put them on the cookie sheet and bake them. Here we go, we have them coming out of the oven. They were in the oven at 300 degrees for 12 to 14 minutes. You want to get the beautiful golden brown color on the bottom. We'll let those cool before we taste them, but they certainly smell wonderful. So just to go over, we had 1 pound of butter, 11 ounces of sugar, just 1 1/2 cups, 4 yolks, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 3 ounces of crystallized ginger or 6 tablespoons. Actually, I had only 2.25 ounces of ginger. 1 pound, 6 ounces of all-purpose flour, which is 5 1/2 cups, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 2 1/2 tablespoons of powdered ginger or 1/2 ounce. And we did cream butter method in our stand mixer. And we have these beautiful cookies, and hopefully you enjoyed learning how to make them, and we'll try it yourself. All right, take care, everybody. Bye.